You're listening to the JD Rucker Show. Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Well, in case you're living under a rock, I hate using that cliche, but this one, it does apply. Unless you're living under a rock, chances are you are aware that yesterday President Trump made a whole lot of people angry, members of his base. As a matter of fact, to be clear, probably the most vocal and loyal and supportive members of his base. I remember reading through some of the posts, some of the ex-posts, from people who have literally gone to jail for the sake of President Trump, who felt betrayed. Why? Because he came out and said something pretty controversial. Watch.
Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen of that?
No, it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. It's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I can totally understand if you are one of those who is deeply offended by that. If you are somebody who, like me, is calling for actions to be taken regarding the Epstein files, I'm doing it for certain reasons that I think are slightly different than most. I don't want the Epstein files released. I'm not looking for transparency. I just want investigations to happen, and I want the deep state to be exposed, and I want the repercussions from our government's involvement. And I know a lot of those repercussions will be very, very, very bad. It could be the end of the United States of America. But if we are a nation where our government is complicit in child sexual exploitation for the sake of blackmail, maybe we do deserve to be taken down. But we'll talk about that later, perhaps. What I want to talk about is the understandable nature of being upset with President Trump. We've had people get divorced, people get disowned by their families, people have gone to jail, people have made sacrifices on his behalf, and many of those people are now being called stupid by the president. Now, today's show, let's just get this out up front. Today's show, I would say most of you are going to hate it. Most of you are going to disagree, regardless of which side you're on. Okay, if you're on the side of let's move on, you're not going to like what I have to say. If you're on the side of expose everything, you're not going to like what I'm going to say. And it's not because I'm somewhere stuck in the middle. It's not like that. It's that I'm going to try to take us down a lucid path of understanding so that we know exactly what the potential consequences here, what some of the theories are, what's really happening here. I just don't think we're getting a lot of that. Yeah, I watched yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm going to play that. I watched Glenn Beck. Let me see if I've got that pulled up. I watched Glenn Beck yesterday going through his theories, and I agreed about 95% of them, which doesn't happen often when we're talking about contentious issues such as this. I don't agree with anybody 95% of the time. I think that Glenn was pretty close to nailing it. And here it is. You know what? It's almost 10 minutes. Let's do it. I'm going to play it. It's important. And again, I think, I'm just going to play it.
I want to just take you through the possibilities that I think could be happening here. The possibilities, possibility number one, and this is what the left is saying, and some people now on his team are saying. He's in the report. With 15-year-olds? Really? Do you actually believe that? I mean, let's be honest. 20 years ago, if, this was like, hey, he was on an island with 25-year-old models, I would be going, probably, okay? 15, 16-year-olds, that's not Donald Trump. It's not Donald Trump. I don't believe that. Do you? I say no way that's true. Second theory, his friends, his donors, and the power GOP are in it. Okay, first of all, if the power GOP were in that, I'm not sure. If the power GOP were in that, also the power DNC would be in it, and he'd be all for destroying both of those. Okay? It makes no sense. Unless you want to say, well, he wants to use this, and I'll get to that here in a second. But let's just say he's only doing it because his friends, his donors, or the power GOP are in it. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Listen to theory 3. I don't think that's true. There's no way. Let me ask you, except for the Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh, when was the last time, and Kavanaugh is different because he didn't do anything. When have you seen anybody in the administration that actually did something wrong that Donald Trump, when the heat got on them, he didn't just go, yeah, see, you got to take care of that. You're on your own on that, okay? He's not going to take the heat for his friends if they did something wrong. Think about that, just that. His friends or donors or the power GOP are in it. Do you think he'd flush down half of the MAGA movement for friends or power brokers? Never. Never. The man knows where his power comes from, and it's from his base. No way. Don't believe it. Now, 3 is a possibility. I don't believe it, but it's a possibility. And that is that 2 is kind of true. His friends, donors, power, GOP. And he's using the information. For instance, let's say Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent. I could see Donald Trump, who does not want regime change in Iran, thinking that would be bad for the country and the world. Bibi, Benny, can I call you that? Your boy here was a Mossad agent. Now, yes, the CIA was involved, so it's going to be bad for both of us, but probably worse for you. So I'm going to keep this under wraps, but what you're going to do is not have regime change in Iran. If the president saw something that he felt was accomplished that would be very, very good by saying, I'm going to sit on that, I think he might do it. I think he might do it. But I don't think that's what happened. I don't. Because of today's letter. Okay? I'm going to get to that now. The fourth theory is what the president is trying to say, there's nothing here. Now, this one I can believe if it's presented this way. It's had 1,000 fingerprints on it. The chain of custody is ridiculous. We don't know what's real and what's not. It has been sitting around desks and in the hands of lefties, righties, power brokers, people who are guilty, people who are innocent. We don't know the chain of custody of this thing. We can't prove anything. Thus, there's nothing in there. There's nothing we can prove. Move on. That I could believe. That one I could believe. But it doesn't explain today's letter. Laura Trump said something earlier this week. She said, I just want to tell you, there's more information that's going to come out. Okay, that's when I thought, okay, idea number 4, that's true. There's nothing there because it's got 1,000 fingerprints on it, and there's nothing you can prove because I don't believe 1, 2, or 3. I don't. Doesn't make sense to me. And then he came out with this. Now, it could be that he is so frustrated because the guy has accomplished miracles in 6 months. The guy should have yet another Nobel Prize, and this one earned. He should have that from some of the stuff that he's done. He's accomplished amazing things. And I could see myself really tired, really burned out, working 24 hours a day, flying all over the world. Could you keep his schedule? Like, I'm not trying to make excuses for him. I just want to present a fair look. Could you keep his schedule? I know if I have a schedule half that way, I get testy. So that could explain this. It could explain him going, can you knock it off? Look what we're doing. There's nothing there. That works. But this bothers me. All of this part, we're one team, MAGA, talk of the world, selfish people are trying to hurt it over a guy who never dies. Why are we giving, okay, it's Epstein over and over again. That theory works. To me, what I just said to you, okay, he's tired. He's grumpy. He wants people to pay attention to the things that are important because there's nothing in it. Theory number 4. Until you get here, why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals, the Biden administration, who conned the world with the Russia, 51 intelligence agent, the laptop from hell, and more? They created the Epstein files, just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton Steele dossier that they used on me, and now my so-called friends are playing right into their hand. The next line is the key. If there was something in there, why didn't they use it against me before? They could have easily done it and controlled exactly how it was done, could have tubed the last election that fast. That fast. Can I give you theory 5? He is suddenly, miraculously in the file. Just like he, had that link with his bank and the Russian bank, or he was on camera in Russia with hookers, or just like he was, in the Steele dossier, doing all those things, just like he was bribing Ukraine, just like he was starting a war, all of the things that they have said, just like he was falsifying documents to get rich, in business, just like he was in Bergdorf Goodman raping a woman. Come on. Now, all of those things were said about him. And who said them? The radical left. And written in many cases by Obama, Hillary, Comey, Brennan, the loser criminal of the Biden administration. Let me take you back to theory 4. There's nothing there. Why is there nothing there? Because we don't know the chain of custody. Fingerprints all over it, right? Fingerprints everywhere. How do we know what's true, what's not true? That's theory 4. Theory 5 is these sons of bitches. They knew I was campaigning. One of my campaign promises was to release the files. somebody went in, the same people went in, and made all of this stuff point to me as if I'm some kingpin in it. Why is it the left never wanted this released until he said, I'm not going to release it? Why is Congress, the Democrats in Congress, all of a sudden saying, you've got to release this? You've got to release this. This is impeachable if he doesn't release it. Really?
No. It's definitely not impeachable. Don't even get me started on the precedent about the powers of the president, the powers within the DOJ, and their ability to go after pretty much anybody they want and to not go after anybody they don't want, plus the notion that they have to release this information unless they get that passed and it'll be challenged. No, definitely not impeachable. They just love to impeach the guy. I guess it's their only tool. If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So let's back to what he was saying, though, Glenn Beck. So number 4, the idea that there's nothing there. There's one reason why I don't agree with that. I would have been down the same line as, was it Tim Burchett or Ron Johnson? One of the two basically said, I don't think there's anything left. I think they destroyed it all. I think there was evidence. I think they destroyed it all. Okay, that was the statement both before and after the drop by the DOJ saying we're not going after anybody. But the reason that I can't buy that is because Pam Bondi described in great detail. You go, oh, Pam Bondi's a lie. Well, if she's going to lie, she's going to lie in the opposite direction. This would have been something that she would have covered up or lied about. Instead of revealing that they have 10,000 pieces of evidence. Videos, apparently, I'd heard some people say that it's all videos, 10,000 videos. Some people say it's 10,000 pieces of evidence, including videos, like videos and images. I tend to lean towards the 10,000 videos. That's what makes most sense. Okay, to me, I mean, that's anyway. Point is, she went into detail after declaring that they weren't going after anybody. She went into detail about how they had these 10,000 pieces of evidence, we'll say 10,000 videos, and that she had teams of people that were going through and looking at things, okay? That's, to me, maybe I'm stupid and I'm not, but that to me says, okay, yes, we definitely have actionable evidence that can be used on those involved. Actionable evidence of wrongdoing that would hold up in a court of law. They could go after people. So the idea that there's nothing there, why would she make up? She's like, we're not going to release it, but there's plenty of evidence that we could use if we were willing to release it. That's stupid. Okay, they have evidence, and it jibes with the notion of theory number 5 that they added something. Which, if we're all things being equal, at this stage, I am in that camp, a variation of it, based upon what Trump is saying. I mean, his willingness to call people stupid, his willingness to say over and over and over and over again that it's a hoax. President Trump is a smart man. He knows how to communicate. And the fact that he's communicating in this way, the fact that he is planting this seed makes me jump not only on Glenn Beck's perspective, but I turn to Jesse Kelly. Jesse Kelly, his theory is that because President Trump keeps saying these things, that he's setting us up for what he believes to be an unavoidable leak. Okay? And he even said, I don't know if I have that one pulled up. I'm just relying on everybody else today for the information. But yeah, he even said that he did not think that, or he did not hope that this is true, but he thinks that this is where it's pointing to. President Trump comes out. They say, oh my gosh, he says it's a hoax. You're stupid if you believe it. Stop pushing it. Just let it go, let it go, let it go. It's a hoax. It's like Russia hoax. It's like Hunter Biden's laptop. It's like the 51 signatures from the intel community. It's all a hoax. Democrats made it up. It's a hoax. What he's saying is, and according to both Jesse Kelly and to some extent Glenn Beck and me, is that this feels like they being the DOJ or whoever in the White House, they think that information is going to come out. They think that information was plugged in, and we have other reasons to believe that, which I'll get to here in a second. that information was plugged in, whether it's by Obama, Brennan, Comey, Biden, AutoPen, whoever, FBI, SDNY, whatever. Somebody put information in there, manufactured information. Now, it's possible that it could be people saying, oh, they inserted Trump in there, and that's what he's defending, or they inserted people close to him. Don Jr. was out there, or whatever. The theory that I haven't heard anybody say, and this is the portion of that theory, we'll call it a sub-theory within the theory. The sub-theory that I haven't heard anybody discuss is the one that I think is almost, I would give it about a 50% chance, assuming that the overall theory that they manipulated it, they tainted it in a way, and they believe Trump is preparing or getting us, planting the seeds for what is either an inevitable leak or even just a potential leak. He wants to make sure that before the information does come out, that he's pre-discrediting it. He's saying before it's dropped that it's manufactured, the Democrats are doing it, that whatever, okay? I think that there is some taint to it. I think there might be a lot. I think it was intentional for the sake of protecting the list itself. And I will explain that right after this break. Look, I get it. If you've ever tried quote-unquote survival food or long-term storage food provided by any of those discount survival companies out there, chances are you've come to the conclusion that, yeah, no, it's not very good. And you might believe that that's just the case for all survival food, but it's just not. Patriot TV works with an extraordinarily high quality and not very expensive, to be fair, shockingly low priced survival food company called Heaven's Harvest. You can check them out by going to patriot.tv/food. That's patriot.tv/food, and use promo code Patriot at checkout, and you'll get a nice discount. They're all American, okay, locally sourced, heirloom seeds. They've got the works. Check them out. Go to patriot.tv/food and check out why Heaven's Harvest is just so much better than everybody else. During the break, I was able to find that Jesse Kelly clip. Let's go ahead and play that. That way you'll see a basis, again, of what my variation, my sub-theory is within his and Glenn Beck's theory.
He's lashing out. He's calling everybody who cares about this stupid. You're falling for a Democrat hoax. I think he knows that, yes, the communists, that they made additions to these files, additions that will make him look bad and criminal. I think he's been told, Mr. President, we don't want all this stuff exposed because you or someone close to you maybe will look bad. And I think that's why he's taken the very bizarre stance of, you shouldn't talk about this anymore. Shut up, you idiot. Let's talk about something else. Doesn't land well. I see my emails not landing well with you. And I think Donald Trump's a lot of things. He's most definitely not a dummy. I think he's aware that's the kind of thing that's not going to land well. So if you're saying something repeatedly, he's saying the same thing over and over and over again. Move on, shut up, move on, idiot, stop working. This is a hoax. It's a hoax. I think he's prepping the ground. And let me make a prediction. One that I pray to God doesn't come true because I hope my entire theory is wrong. I think the information is going to leak. That's what I think. And I think he knows this information is going to leak. And that's why he has spent the last week or two telling you this is made up. This is incredible. He keeps using that term credible. This is made up. It's a hoax. It was James Comey. It was Obama. It was a hoax. It's a hoax. It's a hoax. I don't think Donald Trump did anything wrong with Jeffrey Epstein. I do believe he's in the files.
So I think there's a lot of legs to that theory, okay? Because he has been noting, as Jesse Kelly pointed out, he's been hammering on, we're going to release anything that's credible. We might release something that's credible. Keeps hammering the credible aspect of it. In other words, there's going to be things that aren't credible. But I would argue that if that were the case, if it's just like, okay, so we've got 10,000 files and 11 of them were inserted by Democrats or deep state or Comey or whoever, and those, or SDNY is the most likely scenario there, by the way. They added these to it to taint it so that he wouldn't release it. But why? That doesn't fit for me, because it's like, this is still the Department of Justice. There is still the ability for them to selectively release, selectively go after people. And the fact they say that they're not going after anybody, nobody. There's reports that maybe there's investigations. There's this hopium, theory that he's only saying this to make them think that they're in the clear, but in reality, there's this like secret investigation, and like Rick Grinnell's engaged in it. I've heard some crazy theories here. And you know what? If it's true, that would be awesome. Like I said, these are hopium theories. It's like trust the plan. It's don't worry, he's on this. They're just he's throwing them off the scent, making them feel that they're in the clear. That way they'll do something stupid. I don't know. Again, yeah, that'd be nice. I don't think that's it. If it is, wow. Talk about 8D chess there, right? That would be the master play of master plays. And I would love that. Anyway, I don't think that's the case. What I think is reality here is that, yes, they may have tainted it with that, but I think they also tainted everything. And by everything, I'm saying all the files, not just any files that pertain to Trump or any of his cronies or allies or friends or donors or family members or anybody else. Because they could always be selective. They could say, okay, we're going to go after this guy. And that would have been the easy button. It's like, okay, we got, we're still going through the files. We've got active investigations into 5 people so far. It's probably going to grow from there. And we've taken any foreign people that were involved. We've given that data over to those governments. We're going to let them do whatever they need to do. We can't go arrest somebody in whatever, right, for something they did in Epstein Island. So we've alerted this government and this government and this government. We've given them their stuff. Then everybody would be like, yes. Okay, that would have been the easy button, right? And keep in mind, that would have been the easy button even if it was a lie. Had President Trump come out, so let's say Pam Bondi, they dropped that release, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. President Trump comes out the next day, and he says, all right, look, people are reacting poorly to this. Totally understandable. Here's the truth. Okay, we're not dropping it. We are going after people, but it's not like we're going after drug dealers or murderers. We're going after some of the most powerful people in America, some of the most powerful people in the world. This cannot be out in the public. We're not going to have anything that can be used to alert these people, to hide these people, anything like that. So here's the thing. We've opened up investigations into an undeclared number of people. We've got a task force set aside with a special prosecutor that they're going to go after these people without anybody being able to follow them. We can't, these investigations are just too mammoth for us to be able to get press in the way or anybody else in the way. We definitely don't want the Democrats to get in the way. So we've got this going, and sorry for starting off with the lie that we're not doing anything, but we're doing something about it. And it's going to take time. The main reason we want this to just be gone and buried is because this isn't going to be a 3-month investigation. This is going to take a long time, and we're going to try to get it all done at once. And we're going to try to get it done before the end of my presidency, but it might take longer than that. Who knows? But just know this, that we are going after these people, and we are very confident that we will be able to make arrests and charges and convictions, and that the bad guys are going to face time. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. If you want to know more, you can't, because these investigations are too crucial and done. So, but since it's out there, here's my warning to you. If you went to Epstein Island and you did some bad things, you might want to just go ahead and end your suffering and turn yourself in, and let's do that. All right. And then he would be a hero to his entire base, and anybody who was on Epstein Island would be shaking in their boots, looking around looking behind them every 10 seconds, And Democrats would be like, can we attack this? I guess not. I mean, I guess we could call for transparency, but he kind of made a valid argument as to why this won't be transparent. And if we come out too hard against this, then he's just going to say, well, maybe they're on the list, and then we'll look like we're on the list. I mean, there was a way to make this just a very positive thing for the administration while ending the discussion. I mean, there would still obviously be speculation, and some investigative journalists would try to look into it and blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, they throw the phrase national security or the national security label on pretty much everything whenever they want to. Why not do it here? We can't. This is a very delicate operation, and for the sake of national security, because there's some very powerful people involved, we cannot release any details whatsoever until everything is done. If we leak a little bit, it's going to blow the whole thing up, so back off. If President Trump had come out with that, then the discussion would now be a speculation. Pretty much the entirety of MAGA would be like, yes, this is what we wanted. It's really happening. You'd have some skeptics like, oh, I don't know, this sounds skeptical. And I would probably be one of those. But still, it would be good. We'd be in a great position. Instead, we are splintered as a result of them not coming out, not doing that. So here is my addendum, my sub-theory regarding all of this. This is why I think there is such a push to, number one, for President Trump to come out and say, hoax, hoax, hoax. We're looking for credible, because there's Democrats have put in stuff that's not credible, not credible, not credible. I think that Jesse Kelly is right, that they suspect that there will be a leak or something compelled by the courts or whatever to release information, and that it could be damaging in some way to him. But I think it's more than that, because again, they could drop some of it while, and say this stuff is credible and this stuff is not. The reason, the overarching reason, the bigger reason that I think that they don't want any of it out there at all is, well, let's go back a little bit. So number one, I think that, and I can't confirm this, I'm not dogmatic about this particular theory, but there have been rumors that he took some of the Epstein files, and that's what the whole Mar-a-Lago raid was all about. Okay? And it would jibe with the notion that they had the partial files, they being the FBI and the DOJ had the partial files, and looking through those, they didn't see anything that could be bad for the president, anything that could be bad for the nation. And that's why they were so, we're going to release the files. We're going through it now. We're going to put together binders and give it to, that's only phase one, and we're going to have more coming, and we're, blah, 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 blah. And Kash Patel's like, we're going to do this. And Dan Bongino's like, wow, I can't wait to be part of this. This is going to be great. And then there was a switch. There was a change in everybody. Trump, Bondi, Patel, Bongino, all of them changed after they got the files from SD New York. And this is important to note, because I think a lot of people are saying, well, why were they lying? He campaigned on this. Why is he reversing now? Because the reason they're reversing now is because they got new information that they weren't expecting, new information that ruins everything. And that information came when they got the files from SDNY or wherever else, wherever they got the files from the FBI offices in New York or wherever. They got new information, and it's like, oh crap. We got some, again, I think that it was tainted with at least a little bit of things that could harm President Trump or his allies. Great, fine. People say that. I don't disagree. But again, I think it's worse than that. I think that they discovered that no matter if whoever they were to go after with these files, whoever they were going to charge, that if it were to be brought to a court, if charges were to be filed, then in the process of discovery, the defense would be able to find out that our government, for years, for decades, was not just helping to cover it up, that this was a government-run operation. I've said this before. It jibes with everything that we're seeing now. This fits. If there is evidence that shows that the CIA helped a young Jeffrey Epstein collect the Ponzi money that mysteriously disappeared in the 80s, Ponzi scheme money, he's involved, he doesn't go to jail, he flips, he turns, and now that money is gone. A lot of money gone. Then all of a sudden, here's Jeffrey Epstein, super rich. And I think that there is tons of evidence to back that up, evidence in the files. I think that there's also tons of evidence that shows that at that point, whenever he and Maxwell and everybody got started with their operation, and again, them being patsies, not the ringleaders of the operation, they were the patsies of the operation, and then the ringleaders happened to be intelligence agencies, 3 in particular, the CIA, Mossad, and GCHQ. They were all almost certainly involved to the point of running the operation. You can't go after, say, whoever, Bill Clinton or Bill Gates, without exposing that our government, our taxpayer dollars, were going to help Epstein collect blackmail by having men commit child sexual acts. Or I guess it would be have these men commit crimes against children, against minors. And that information would do harm to the government. And then they would be able to find out, they being through discovery in a court of law, they would be able to demonstrate that not only was the CIA involved, not only was the FBI involved, not only was there congressional oversight, Senate oversight, members of the White House, that basically for decades, a lot of people in our government using our taxpayer dollars were helping powerful men have sex with minors. That type of bombshell information would be enough to take us down as a nation. We could no longer be trusted by our allies. We could no longer be trusted, and the government could no longer be trusted by the people. That's already hanging in the balance and has been for a while. We, the people, don't trust the government. Well, imagine if not only is our government crooked, they're also criminal. Not only is our government doing bad things with tax dollars and filling their own pockets, but it's worse than that. They're having children raped. That's not that it would take us down. At least it could. I don't want to say it would. It could, depending on what information is in there, it could take down the United States of America. And I think that President Trump and Susie Wiles and Pam Bondi, I think they're looking at it and saying, we're doing so great. We're getting so many things done with the administration. We've got the opportunity to win the midterms and continue this winning streak for another 2 years after that. We're making America great again, and this will ruin all of that. It will forever. That will be, even if his government wasn't directly involved, that's what history books will look back on as the legacy of the second Trump administration. That was the time period in American history where America dropped down a notch or 2 or 10. And it could be, again, very possible, it could be during President Trump's time is when America fell. Given all that, I believe that it does jibe. And again, these are all theories. But the reason that I don't think it's just that, Trump's in there is because, again, they have a whole lot of power to say, we're not going to release this. We're going to release this about these people, but not these about these other people, these innocent people. They don't even have to say Trump or whoever. They just say, we're only going to focus and release information about the people that we're actually going after. And then they go after them. Again, they've acknowledged they have tapes, they've got people, entire teams combing through, finding evidence. They've worked and prosecuted people with far less evidence than what they've described. They have the power and the resources of the Department of Justice of the United States of America to try to make something stick. I think this is beyond just Trump donors. I think this is beyond just trying to not have to deal with the rumors and innuendo and accusations against Trump or any of his allies. I think this comes down to releasing the documents, any of the documents, going after the people, any of the people, would result in catastrophic failure for the United States of America. And again, I disagree with that notion. I think that we're adults here, okay? We can figure it out. If they were to do it right, yes, and say, look, it's this bad stuff happened. We're fixing it. And we are being transparent and admitting that past administrations, past FBIs, past DOJs, past CIAs, past Mossads, past whatever, that they were all doing this stuff, but we're going to try to hold them accountable across the board. And, and we're going to put in measures so that nothing like this can ever happen again. Now, there is an alternative theory that I don't even want to bring up, but we're here, might as well. The alternative theory is that whatever information is in there points to a current operation. In other words, Epstein was just a pimp, and he wasn't the only one. And there are other pimps who are already involved, and that this would point to other operations that are currently ongoing during President Trump's administration, that maybe were ongoing during his last administration, and ways to say that, yes, the United States of America and other nations, or at least just the U.S., are currently involved in Epstein Island-style sting operations to collect blackmail on people, to control world leaders, business leaders, whatever. And then that's what they don't want to get out. And again, because the documents were tainted, you can say by Democrats, by deep state, by whoever, somebody tainted them. And as a result, they tainted it for the sake of making sure that they wouldn't be released. They tainted them to say, hey, if you're going to go after these people, if you're going to take away our toy of blackmail that we can use against world leaders, if you're going to take down this person that we like, or that person that we like, or this person that we control, or that person that we control, or if you're going to nail this person who was complicit in it, or that person that was complicit in it, if you do anything at all, then we're going to take the whole thing down with us. You take us down, we take you down. Mutually assured destruction. It's only under that scenario that I can buy the notion that President Trump and the entirety of the White House at this point is on board with covering up something like this. It's not about, oh, it's old, he's dead. Nobody cares about catching Jeffrey Epstein because, as they keep saying, as President Trump keeps saying, he's dead. It is, and it's not even just about justice for the victims, because I've heard a lot of arguments, some valid arguments, by the way. I've heard some good arguments that say, look, these victims clearly aren't, they have their reasons for not coming out because so few have. Some of them, it might be out of shame, not wanting to drudge up things. But one thing that, and I'm not, by no means, do not take me out of context on this one and say, oh, he's justifying the crimes. I'm not justifying the crimes. But there are differences between taking, children, young children, and exploiting them, sex trafficking them, and what apparently, and I don't know the details, but what seems to be taking young, very influenceable and impressionable minors, 15, 16, 17, okay, but still not like babies, not children, taking minors and incentivizing them with money or whatever to participate in this, or just manipulate it. But again, I don't want to try to make it sound like that's not as bad, because it's still horrible. But it's not like if, let's say, a victim, a 17-year-old victim, she was like, oh my, this sucks, but she willingly went down there, and yes, it was illegal, and she got paid, and she's like, you know what, I just want to put that behind me. I don't want to mess with this stuff anymore. Okay, maybe that's the reason. But here's the thing: the fact that we don't have a whole lot of people out there, a whole lot of women, now grown women, obviously at this point, out there. Making claims, making lawsuits that they could probably win and get money from whoever, right? The fact that that's not the case, again, highlights that this operation, there's a lot more to it than we know. I'm way late for my break. Let's go to a break, and we will close it out.
Freeze drying again?
Never know what could happen.
Whatever the future may bring, dinner can be certain.
Visit patriot.tv/harvest today.
So for the sake of clarity, let me just declare one more time, by no means am I justifying the crimes that were committed. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to downplay them at all. I'm just saying that there are reasons why people aren't coming out. And one thing that I didn't note that I probably should note is that for at least, we are talking about some of the most powerful men in the world. There's a very good chance that these girls have been threatened. So I don't want to take that off the table. We are talking about the CIA, Mossad, GCHQ. We're talking about, again, super rich people. I mean, maybe these girls have been convinced, you know what? If I do anything, say anything, I'm going to get taken out. Okay? That could be the case. So yes, do I want justice for them? You betcha. Do I want to put pedophiles, as powerful world leaders and business leaders and everybody behind bars? You bet, absolutely. But the biggest incentive for me, and the reason that, and this is where I'm going to make a lot of people upset, because I think, it sounds like Rucker's getting on Trump's side and trying to protect. No, I'm not. I'm not. I still want the information to come out. And to be clear, I don't want like the client list to come out, or the, people are talking about, let's get the flight logs and whatever. No, what I want is actions taken to not only go after the pedophiles and to get them off the streets, out of their mansions, whatever, get them out of the seats of power. But I also want the deep state itself to get a bloody nose. And this can be a bloody nose for the deep state. This is why I'm not convinced that if I am correct, and if the government can be implicated in this, awesome. Does it risk taking us down? Yes. But again, I mean, do we really want to live in a nation and defend the Constitution of a nation where our most powerful people, our government, is involved in child sex trafficking? And the correct answer to that is no, we don't want that. So if that means that we take a risk of purging at least portions of that debauchery out of government, and we take the risk of taking the entire government down, taking down the United States of America, I say go for it. I really do. I know it's probably an unpopular opinion. I don't want to see America destroyed by any means, but I definitely want to see the deep state bloodied. I want to see them harmed. I want to see their power. I want that power to slip away. And if that also means taking away their little toy of all this blackmail material that they have, so be it. I want our government to have as much integrity as possible, even if there's not much left. I don't want to lose any of that. And I want to gain more integrity as a result of the actions of President Trump, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and all of that good stuff. So yeah, I am not on Team Trump on this one. I'm still on Team Trump in general. Okay, and that's something that it seems as if there's this binary choice: either you're with Trump or you're against him. If you aren't willing to just let it go and and stop being stupid and let him do his thing and move on and focus on all the good things that he's doing and stop worrying about a guy that died years ago. If you're not willing to do that, then you're against this nation. You're against Trump. I'm not against Trump. Okay? I mean, it's pretty obvious that he, based upon his actions, his words, everything that we're seeing, he's very clearly in a very horrible situation with this. He doesn't like it. He doesn't want this to be anywhere near his legacy. He would be happy if Epstein never existed. If none of this existed, that would be his. That would make him giddy, make him super excited, because he is doing amazing things, absolutely amazing things. And he could do even more if he had more help from Congress. But there is a third possibility here. And that is something that my good friend John Solomon was able to discuss with President Trump yesterday. Or I don't know when they talked. I think it was yesterday. Might have been live. But he did have an episode where he was able to talk to President Trump and get some important information and get some even help to push Trump in a particular direction. According to his website, justthenews.com, Trump embraces special prosecutor for weaponization probe and Epstein, and he vows new declassifications. That's a good sign. President Donald Trump on Wednesday embraced the FBI's decision to open a conspiracy probe into a decade of alleged intelligence abuses and weaponized law enforcement, a story that Solomon himself broke, suggesting it could be led by a special prosecutor and even delve into credible evidence in the Jeffrey Epstein case in order to give Americans a greater dose of transparency and accountability. And we want as many doses of that as we can get. He also vowed to declassify 2 highly sensitive pieces of intelligence to help further the prosecutor's efforts. He said, well, I'm happy that they did that. He said this during a wide-ranging interview on Just the News. And when asked about the FBI's decision a few weeks ago to open a probe that examines abuses from 2016 to 2024 by Democrats and government officials as a continuing criminal conspiracy, he said, I don't know much about it, but it deserves to be done. It was a disgrace what happened in 2016 and what happened in 2020. It's a disgraceful situation. And I would argue, by the way, that it also happened in 2018 and 2022 when he wasn't running. And back to President Trump, and our voting has to be straightened out. I always say, if you don't have borders, if you don't have fair and free voting, you don't have a country. Unprompted, Trump then volunteered on his own that a special prosecutor, if one is appointed by justice, to look at weaponization could also delve into anything credible. There's that word again, credible. All this, any stuff that has Trump or anybody else in it, that's not credible. It's what he's insinuating. Planting the seed, as Jesse Kelly says. Anything credible on Jeffrey Epstein and his files to make sure Americans have a full accounting. He said, I think they could look at all of it. It's all the same scam. They could look at the Jeffrey Epstein hoax also, because that's the same stuff that's all put out by Democrats. And again, he keeps saying Democrats. It's Democrats and the deep state. And they are 2 separate entities. Yes, I would say most active members and most leaders within the deep state happen to be Democrats. But do you really think that the Cheneys, I guess they're not a good example, or the Bushes, they're probably also not a good example. There are Republicans involved directly in leadership of the deep state. And when we talk about the deep state, it's not a singular entity. We'll go into the deep state some other day. When pressed whether he was comfortable with a special prosecutor on weaponization also looking at Epstein, he answered, they've already looked at it, and they are looking at it, and I think all they have to do is put out anything. What's the key word here today, folks? Credible. Put out anything credible. And I'm okay with that. I really am. I know there's a lot of purists out there that say, you release it all. It's not good enough unless absolutely everything is released. I'm okay with some of it. I really am. I rip on, let me turn this off for a second. I rip on our government for overusing the national security label to hide their evils. They do it all the time. Literally every day, something is hidden from the public for the sake of national security. And I would say 9 times out of 10, maybe 95 times out of 100, maybe 99 times out of 100, it's not really about national security. It's about protecting someone in government or some friend of government or somebody friendly in another government or whatever, somebody's cousin. It's about protecting people, not for the sake of national security, but for their personal sake. Vast majority of the time, when they say it's national security, it's not. And a lot of times they just don't even say it's national security. Or they don't tell us. It's not what's being told to the public because they don't want to overuse that. But, something's happening. I slap the national security label on it and it's done. It's gone. It's gone. Top secret, above top secret. Pisses me off. Chaps my khakis. So the Trump administration vowed to release all remaining evidence in the now deceased financier's sex scandal and prosecution, but its early efforts were hampered by missteps by Attorney General Pam Bondi, which created distrust in the MAGA base. And the biggest sin that Pam Bondi made, seriously, and this probably won't be a popular thing to say, but the biggest mistake that Pam Bondi made was being stupid. Seriously, I'm not trying to be funny here. Being naive, we'll say. I don't think that she's someone. I think that we've had people, William Barr, for example. I think we've had people in the Justice Department, in the FBI, in the CIA, in pretty much every aspect of government during President Trump's first term, definitely during Biden's term, definitely in pretty much every term before. And maybe we have it now too. I think we have less of it now, but there's always going to be people that are willfully and aggressively trying to thwart the efforts of the president, especially in his last administration. You could throw a stone in any direction and hit somebody who was actively and aggressively working against President Trump within his own administration. I don't think Pam Bondi's that person. I think she's just dumb. I think that she thought, oh, well, I guess this is all of the information that we have on Epstein. Let's make binders and we'll put pretty covers on it and it'll be awesome. And we'll be heroes. I think she's just naive. And I think when she got she's like, oh my gosh, you mean there's other files and they didn't I told them to give it to us. Why didn't they give it to us? That's crazy. I thought they said that they gave us everything. And now you're telling me there's like 10,000 tapes in some basement somewhere in New York? Why wasn't I told about this? I thought that I could trust. Overdoing it, Rucker. You get the idea. I think that her biggest sin is that she was just stupid. And maybe still is. Trump has defended Bondi in the face of heavy criticism, but it hasn't silenced the outcry. In fact, when the FBI and DOJ sent out a memo concluding Epstein did commit suicide in prison and did not leave behind a ledger or client list of the people whom he entertained with young female escorts, many prominent conservatives openly cast doubt and derision on the findings. Now Democrats have joined the chorus. While Trump opened the door for Bondi to appoint the prosecutor and include Epstein in the scope, Trump also blasted MAGA conservatives who have obsessed about Epstein for weeks with speculation on social media, saying it only gives oxygen to Democrats to distract from the administration's priorities. Is Trump. Some of the naive Republicans fall right into line like they always do. They just don't have the sustainability. There's something they don't have that stick to it like glue. The Democrats, they have bad policy, they have bad candidates, they have bad everything, but they stick together. The Republicans don't do that, and I could very clearly make a very almost you couldn't beat me in the argument that that's our strength, that we don't stick together and follow the leader like sheep. I know that there's people out there, Republicans, conservatives out there that say, oh, we need to be more united. No, we need to be united behind the truth. We need our individuality to shine through. We don't need to be sheep. We've got sheep. They're called Democrats. They're called rhinos. They're called, we need to be our own people. And I know you are. I know I am. I know I look at a situation. This is why I can support President Trump and still want the Epstein files released, or at least in part. That's why I can walk and chew gum at the same time. Thank you all. Lord willing, I will be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, you all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless.